And it's a very warm welcome to the booth here at Boston, Massachusetts. Riley Knight alongside Paul Churn, welcoming you to our first of the Team Series finals. A great pleasure to have your company today, Paul. The players are settled and ready. We've got them underway. I mean, a lot of nerves. You know, not only in the feature match here, around the world, these guys have got some pretty strong fan bases.
Yeah, they have a huge fan base, and they've just been sitting. Many of these players have been sitting on their hands, waiting for today, while watching all their friends kind of compete at the World Championships. So I'm sure many of them are really, really excited to actually be able to play right now.
They're going to hustle. They're going to hustle pretty hard down in the feature match area because, of course, they are playing for all the marbles today. Tens of thousands of dollars on the line for these players, and you see them assembled there ready and waiting. A couple of butterflies in the stomach, you would imagine. But things almost in readiness in the feature match area for us to get underway. We're going to be starting with Yuya Watanabe, the Japanese superstar. And who's he up against here, Paul?
He's up against Thomas Hendricks, Dutch professional Magic player. He actually has subbed in for Michael Majors, who was actually originally a member of Team Genesis, but he has decided to start working with myself over at Wizards of the Coast. So he was able to fill in there. And Thomas Hendricks is currently on Red-White Dinosaurs, one of the archetypes that many of the pros really wanted to be in. Just kind of going into the World Championships.
Yeah, a lot of people have put this deck very high on their radar as one of the best, as we see a Fathom Fleet Firebrand getting in and opening up the account here for Thomas Hendricks. And I have to say, just looking over the deck list we've got in front of us, Paul, Thomas Hendricks has a deck that is just full of synergy.
Yeah, all he wants to do is attack, be aggressive. And the thing is, oftentimes in Seal deck, you have to sometimes play some cards you're not too proud of playing. But in Team Seal, that changes. You're opening 12 packs, and oftentimes your decks are just going to look like just traditional, very solid draft decks.
Lincoln, you miss it here because Yuya Watanabe is under the gun in a major way here. He doesn't seem to be able to commit anything to the board apart from a trio of islands. And as you can see on your screen, he is playing blue-green, a pretty strong Merfolk deck for Watanabe, including, and I know you're pretty happy about this, 2 Jade Guardians and 2 One with the Winds.
Yeah, that is a kind of a common wombo combo, if you will, that allows you to basically kind of cheese your opponents. You can just make a 5/5 hexproof flyer with the combination of these two cards. And it is incredibly powerful. It will help you kind of finish games, but Yuya Watanabe off to a really slow start. This format is very, very aggressive, and you can't really afford to kind of miss a beat. So this is going to be really, really tough for him to come back from, given that Thomas Hendricks has 3 creatures on the battlefield, one of which many consider to be the best common in the format in Territorial Hammerskull.
Territorial Hammerskull has been turning heads all weekend, of course, throughout our draft portion. And for those of you around the world looking to get ahead in Ixalan's Limited, whether it's sealed or draft, you are going to want to prioritize this Territorial Hammerskull. Jade Guardian, bit of a niche card here, but I tell you what, it can get some work done in the Merfolk deck.
Yeah, it definitely sees a lot of play in the Merfolk tribe because of its synergies with cards like the with One with the Wind. Actually, the Jade Guardian here doing a pretty good job. Territorial Hammerskull is usually pretty good at attacking through creatures, but a hexproof creature, not so much.
We still see Hendricks attacking without fear or favor. Look at this, getting in with his Fathom Fleet Firebrands, because of course they've got kind of rubbish fire breathing, to be honest. It's a little bit more expensive. Yeah,
but it's still a 2-mana 2/2 with a very relevant ability. So, you know, Thomas Hendricks still happy to play. He's actually playing 3 copies of this card in his deck just to be, you know, very, very aggressive. He actually had the option of playing Bishop Soldier, which is a 2-mana 2/2 lifelinker, but he opted to be even more aggressive and just play the fire-breathing creature instead.
So you get in for an extra point of damage here or there, sneak in when you can, and that's exactly what he's done here. Watanabe knocked down to 9 after his follow-up play here. Thomas Hendricks playing the Josh Utterlayton Invitational card. It's Raptor Companion.
Yeah, and Thomas Hendricks has a lot more practice with this deck than Yuya Watanabe, as Yuya Watanabe was actually competing in the World Championships.
So Hendricks will have got in the reps.
He knows the ins and outs, all the tiny little, you know, he knows basically like what outs to play to, because, yeah, he's had a lot of time to just kind of stare at his deck.
Now, look, I don't know if it's just sort of brazen posturing from these Genesis guys, but I have caught up with them throughout the weekend, and they've seemed pretty chilled out, Paul. Like, they've been hanging out at the hotel, those who haven't been playing in the World Championship itself, hanging out at the hotel, getting in the reps, watching the coverage, you know, sitting back, and they seem to be in a pretty good headspace. But again, that could just be, you know, the mind games.
Yeah, I mean, I've interacted with many of the members on this team, and I think that's just kind of how most of the people there are. They're just pretty cool, chill, calm guys, and yeah, they you know, there is a lot of pressure here, of course, but for the most part, you know, look at Thomas.
Yeah. Cool, calm, collected.
Yeah.
Look at him go.
Cool as a cucumber.
Cool as a cucumber. Cool as several cucumbers, you would say. Now, Watanabe is managing to develop the board further, but I tell you what, 5 mana, only committing 1 card to the board. I mean, we can see he's got a copy of Dive Down in his hand. That's one of 2 copies he's playing, so he's obviously very high on this as a not so much a combat trick, I guess, as a more of a defensive spell.
Yeah, cheap tricks is kind of the name of the game. If you look at kind of the other color combinations, you have a lot of great combat tricks in the format. So blue, that is the combat trick that you can play, and it does allow you to actually not trump, but make it so that if somebody plays a combat trick like a Sure Strike, you can give your creature +1/+3, and you can actually negate a lot of the other combat tricks in the format.
Yeah, that's a great point. The other thing, of course, is if you go into a situation where, in combat where you're double blocking and your opponent tries to blow you out with a removal spell, for the low cost of 1 mana, you can obviously make your creature hexproof. +0/+3 means it's usually going to win the fight or at least live through it. So a lot of utility with the card that otherwise doesn't really look that great on paper.
Right, that's the thing. Normally, when you're looking for a trick or a pump spell, oftentimes you want things to pump the power, not the toughness. But this card's actually been pretty impressive.
Oh, hello. What's going on here? Bit of a conference between 2 of the players. Now, this is something we don't see very often, Paul.
Right. Well, when you have one of the best limited players in the world on your team, you might want to get their help every now and then. Seth Manfield, part of this Team Genesis A roster, and he is the middle seat. So, I think they put him there just so that he could actually help out both of these players. Although one of the players that he's sitting next to is Pro Tour champion Lukas Blohon.
Yeah, so I mean, all of these guys are going to certainly be able to stand on their own 2 feet here, but this is something that we don't see in Magic very often, talking amongst yourselves, talking to other people in the middle of a game, because obviously that usually falls under the auspices of, outside assistance. But right here and right now, it's part of the team dynamic, and it's fantastic to see.
Right, and I think Thomas Hendricks was basically asking, look, I have this fiery cannonade in my hand, is it worth casting? Not so much because the Raptor Companion is in the deck. And that's also another reason why he opted to play the triple Fathom Fleet Firebrands, because, of course, they're pirates, so they actually survive the Fiery Cannonade. So I think he was also debating whether or not he wants to attack with the Territorial Hammerskull here to kind of get in for additional points of damage. You can tap down the Tishana's Wayfinder, but the Jade Guardian can actually just eat it. And Yuya Watanabe is holding up 2 blue mana. He could have some dive downs in his hand, and it looks like he actually does have one.
He's got at least one here as Yuya Watanabe pops open the Lego box and gets out the blocks for this particular combat step because, I mean, as we said, he's under pressure. Thomas Hendricks off to a lightning quick start here.
Yeah, and this actually puts Thomas in a pretty awkward situation because Yuya Watanabe does have the combat trick, and he's just going to go ahead and lose that Fathom Fleet Firebrand. The other one, he can probably just let resolve. Does he actually have a land in hand? Let's take a look at his hand again. He does not. Oh, and it's a Fire Cannon Blast. Sorry, not a Fiery Cannonade. So that's what they were also discussing. And now he can't actually play his Glorifier of Dusk.
Yeah, that does change things a little bit here.
That was a big, big tempo loss there. He lost 2 of his creatures, and he wasn't able to play his 5-mana evasive creature.
And we talked about the power of Dive Down, and that's exactly what it's done here in a very safe bet, pointing a card like Dive Down at something like Jade Guardian.
Yeah, and Yuya Watanabe passing with 6 mana up. Oftentimes when you're playing against blue-green merfolk, that generally means some kind of a giant flash flyer in the form of
Windstrider, 2 copies of which are in Watanabe's deck.
Yeah. There's also an uncommon Snapping Sailback. He could also have that card, but Windstrider is the first thing that would come to my mind when my blue-green merfolk opponent does pass with all that mana.
And he's got it in hand as well, so you would think it's going to be committed to the board here. Here is, of course, the Glorifier of Dusk. This card, a sort of build your own Serra Angel here.
Right,
it's going to slap you around some to get up in the air, but all the same, a very, very powerful card indeed. Looks like Watanabe is also going to take to the skies, down the runway, and up into the clouds with a Windstrider here.
Yeah, and Thomas Hendricks has to be feeling okay about this situation. He did play around to Dive Down in the previous turn by not attacking with the Territorial Hammerskull. And now, the coast might be clear for him to actually be able to get in an attack here if it is close to lethal.
It's astonishing to me, Paul, the fact that this Territorial Hammerskull has done just stone nothing.
Yeah,
this is one of the most impactful and powerful commons in the set, and Jade Guardian's just brick-walled it.
Right. Well, Hexproof is the perfect answer to the Territorial Hammerskull.
Whoa, here we go. Here's a big one. This is a huge swing for Watanabe here. As we see River's Rebuke allowing this big attack from Watanabe now, and he's back in it right ahead.
Yeah, we are off to the races here. Thomas still sitting at a pretty comfortable 14 life, and he can kind of dump out his hand. This could be an opportunity for Hendricks to fire off the Fire Cannon Blast on the Wind Strider if he so chose. He could also just opt to play 2 threats this turn. Let's take a look at what he drew for the turn here.
A lot of cards.
He drew so many cards.
Yeah, he's got so many cards. He's got a full hand. It's amazing. What a great position to be in. But of course, yeah, pretty heavy tempo swing there for Hendricks. Although I imagine he is going to stem the bleeding a little bit, just as you said, knock that Wind Strider right out of the sky.
Right, and it looks like he's also opting to play a Frenzied Raptor here.
Okay, well that tussles with the Jade Guardian very nicely.
Right. As he already knows that the Jade Guardian's on the battlefield, if he plays the Territorial Hammer Skull, he won't be able to actually get in for damage because the Jade Guardian just brick walls it as it's hexproof. So he's opting to play the 4-2 because Thomas is happy with this trade.
I like the way that Watanabe has navigated so far. I mean, under a lot of early pressure, he has managed to put his, face the direction towards stabilizing. I wouldn't say he's quite out of the woods yet because, of course, Thomas Hendricks with a full grip and a reasonable life total to play with here.
Wow.
But look at this. No mucking around, Paul. He's going to get straight on the front foot, swing the Willow around.
Yeah, and if I'm Thomas Hendricks, you're just going to have to take this damage. One combat trick that you would almost certainly expect from the blue-green Merfolk deck, given that you've opened 12 packs, is River Herald's Boon. You know, anytime I look at a Merfolk deck and somebody shows it to me, the first question I ask them is, how many River Herald's Boon do you have in your deck? It's one of the most important cards.
Watanabe has 2, one of which is in hand here. Branch Strider coming down to join the party.
Yuya really needs to find that second force. He's been holding a Colossal Dreadmaw for the entire game, and it's a creature that kind of trumps all the other creatures that Thomas has on the battlefield. And
it's going to be a big nasty boy for Hendricks to tussle with, especially if it takes to the skies with something like One with the Wind, because as we've seen, Thomas Hendricks in hand, he doesn't have the best removal options, although his deck does have some great ways to deal with huge creatures. Right,
he does have a copy of Ixalan's Binding along with Pious Interdiction, and he does have 2 copies of Fire Cannon Blast in his deck as well.
Here comes the Hammer Skull, one Mulgeen coming down.
So it looks like Thomas Hendricks actually drew a Sure Strike here too, which is huge. So he might want to just deploy as many of his threats as possible this turn. Then next turn, get in an attack, and if there's an unblocked creature, he can actually use Sure Strike for lethal combat damage as long as the creature has 3 or more power.
So all of these creatures, with the exception of the Territorial Hammer Skull, in conjunction with being booted up with the Sure Strike, would be enough to put Watanabe to 0.
Yeah, I think if I'm Thomas, I want to pass here. I'm going to wait one more turn, try to get in that attack with the Territorial Hammer Skull. And now Yuya can't really attack with the Jade Guardian, I don't think.
He's found a forest, however, Paul Chen, and that changes things.
He does. He now gets to put a Colossal Dreadmaw onto the battlefield. If he so chooses, he could also opt to play another creature and keep up River Herald's Boon. Now, Thomas Hendricks does have the opportunity to still lock down one of Yuya's creatures, get in with all 3 creatures, and then Yuya has to make a choice. Do I block this Territorial Hammer Skull so that just to get it off the board?
That's the obvious block, right?
Now, if he does that, one of the 3-power creatures will get through, and Thomas Hendricks can use Sure Strike for lethal damage.
And especially if Watanabe taps very low. I mean, both of these players will be intimately familiar with all of the tricks of the trade here. And Watanabe's got some really interesting choices to make here. This Territorial Hammer Skull may end up being decisive in the way that this game goes, because it's a very difficult card to stabilize in the face of.
Yeah, and if Yuya actually, taps out for the Colossal Dreadmaw, he's only going to have up 2 blue mana. There's just a very small handful of cards that he could actually have that it can interact with Thomas. There's a Perilous Voyage in the format, which is a 2-mana bounce spell, and there's maybe a second copy of Dive Down, which is not super likely for Yuya to have, but I think he is actually starting both of them.
He does have 2 of them. He doesn't have any copies of Perilous Voyage whatsoever, not even in the pool here. But yeah, his interaction is not these bounce spells that we've seen define a lot of Blue's interaction. Watanabe doesn't have
and that's an Ixalan's Binding!
Oh, that's a huge play here.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the game here. He's going to lock down the Dreadmaw, tap down the Branchwalker, and 2 creatures will get through.
Watanabe with nothing to say about this whatsoever here. A River Herald's Boon isn't going to be enough.
Yuya has to block the 4-2 to stay alive.
But then the Short Strike's going to clean it up.
That's
Paul
right.
Cheon, we're going to game 2 here. If everything pans out the way that we would expect, and you can see Seth Manfield keeping a close eye on what's going on the other table.
Yeah, and the thing is, Thomas Hendricks has got to be thrilled here. That Branchwalker was tapped, meaning Yuya Watanabe did not have the Dive Down.
No, because immediately you'd snap that off straight away.
Of course. Now I think you just go for the Sure Strike here. Wow.
He hasn't done it. He hasn't played the Shore Strike here. Obviously worried about something like Perilous Voyage.
Right. Just playing a little more conservative. And he does have another 2-drop.
Okay, all right,
And Thomas is at a comfortable 11 life, so he's in one of those situations where he goes, how can I possibly lose this game? Oh, there is the one card in Magic that can maybe do it for him. So I am going to just deploy another threat. I have a removal spell in my hand with the Hammer Skull. I'm just going to attack next turn.
And that is enough all over Red Rover. Game number 1 here, Yuya Watanabe going down after a very aggressive start from Thomas Hendricks, and then he took a little while to put the final pieces of the puzzle together. We've got more sealed action coming your way from the Magic the Gathering World Championships from Boston. Stick around, we've got to go to a break, but on the other side of this, we'll be back with more from Watanabe and Hendricks.
Discover a world filled with mighty dinosaurs, treasure-hunting pirates, graceful merfolk, and sinister vampires. Visit Ixalan.com to find out more.
And welcome back to Boston, Massachusetts for the Magic the Gathering World Championship. Great to have your company, Riley Knight, Paul Cheon in the booth. And these players for the team series final going toe-to-toe, looking to expand their trophy cabinets a little bit. But Paul, they've got their work cut out from this. It's going to be, it's hard work for these players to get those, to snag those trophies, because of course, what we need to have happen here, the two teams, Musashi, Genesis, they've been split into teams, they've been split into sub-teams of 3 here. And for each of these sort of sub-sets, they need to win 2 out of 3 for both sides. So essentially, they need to cobble together 4 wins, but of course, it could go 3-3, and that means that we would have a tiebreaker between these two teams, and we'll see how things pan out as the day continues. But it is no walk in the park for either of these teams. Musashi and Genesis going to have to earn these wins. We've switched over here to table number 2, Seth Manfield and Teruya Kakumae. And what's going on here? It seems like we're running back the same decks.
Yeah, we've turned it around. Seth Manfield currently down a game, red-white 2, blue-green merfolk 0. But Seth off to a fantastic start here with the turn 1 Command Speaker followed by a River Sneak.
We have indeed banged it down, flipped it, and then reversed it between Manfield and Kakumae, because both of these players playing, interestingly, this is a bit of a signal about the sealed format here, playing the same decks we saw on table 1, obviously in opposite hands of the players here. Although Manfield, we were talking about this, Paul, his deck is a little bit more, it's a little bit lower to the ground.
Yeah. You know, he's got a nice curve. As you saw, Yuya Watanabe a little bit slower, has more of that, you know, the top end stuff. But if you look at Seth Manfield's deck, a great curve, lots of evasive creatures, but only 1 River Herald's Boon.
Yeah, only 1 River Herald's Boon, only 1 Jade Guardian. Yeah, he's looking to leverage cards like River Sneak, like Shaper Apprentice, cards that, you know, are evasive, can get in for a lot of damage very quickly. We see here Kakumae lining up some blocks.
Does he have the River Herald's Boon?
Well, while the first turns of this game get straightened out, we're going to check in with Tim Willoughby down on the floor.
Thank you, Riley. We've obviously had a couple of games already completed. Just to let you know how things went in game 1 for Manfield and Kakumae. Kakumae able to take it down relatively quickly. Seth, without the kind of fast start that we see here. Adanto Vanguard, Bonded Horncrest doing good work for Team Musashi. Meanwhile, on the back table, Shota Yasooka picking up his game 1. His first 3 lands, Glacial Fortress, Swamp, and Mountain. We saw Call to the Feast, Deadeye Plunderers, but ultimately it was Captivating Crew that was the real nail in the coffin in game 1 against the blue-black deck of Lukas Blohon.
Thanks, Tim. And yes, certainly some spicy pepperoni on the back table. Shota Yasooka playing 4-color Pirates, the double splash of...
Wait. They put Shota Yasooka on Grixis control? No, you don't say.
No, they did. Yes, I know.
Wow, that's just crazy.
Sticky tape your jaws up, ladies and gentlemen, lest they drop to the floor. But that is the way that it goes there, and I'm sure we'll get a chance to check in with the Japanese Hall of Famer on table 3 before too much longer. I realize we have more than 1 Japanese Hall of Famer in the feature match area right now because, of course, Kakumae, he's sitting astride. He's between 2 of the greatest of all time from Japan.
Yeah, and Teruya, no slouch himself. You know, to actually be on Team Musashi, you have to be one of the best Japanese players.
Now you can see a fair bit of conferencing going on in the feature match area between all these players, with different ideas being thrown. A very collaborative environment, you would say, down there today. And I think in that fashion, in that regard, Musashi has the leg up because, of course, Genesis made up of players from about 17, 18 different countries, so obviously they're all using English, you would imagine, unless Seth Manfield's done an intensive Dutch course here. But the Japanese players, they can sit there and just gabber away without any fear of being overheard or understood.
What if somebody in Team Genesis learned Japanese just for this tournament?
Next level.
That is the next level.
They've been on Duolingo all weekend trying to pick up all that stuff.
A few like important words, like attack, block,
crush,
removal. You know? Yeah, but Seth Manfield did have that 1 copy of River Herald's Boon, which was very strong there as it allowed him to attack past the Kinjali's collar.
I love the dynamic of these team events. It's fantastic. I really enjoyed getting across the coverage from Providence last week, and now we've got this happening here in Boston. It's great to see these minds come together. You know, we don't see a lot of it, Paul. A lot of the collaboration between the greatest in the world happens behind closed doors. They're talking, you know, in testing sessions, whatever else, and maybe we get access to some of that through their written articles or video pieces, but we're seeing it live here, unfold in front of our eyes. That's very exciting.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. At the end of the day, when you play in a Magic tournament, you're playing by yourself. It's a one-man game, and the team dynamic changes all of that. It is my favorite tournament to play. Like, we schedule like our Grand Prix teams.
Yeah.
Like we make sure we lock in our teams months ahead of time. If there's 1 month left and there's a team Grand Prix and you don't have a team, it's going to be really hard for you to find people because everybody plans around these team Grand Prix because they're the most fun. You want to play with your friends and you also want to make sure you can nab the best players available early.
Yeah, that's right. It's an unfortunate situation of being Billy No-Mates going into a GP hoping to scrap together a team. And I mean, you know, Genesis, these guys have been around for a long time together. They're good friends and they've got a great synergy working together. And I'd imagine the same could be said for Musashi because these guys absolutely dominated this team series.
Oh yeah, just from the get-go, from the first Pro Tour, they just had the lead and never let go. They just completely dominated. And it's not really a surprise, right? We saw their team, $1 million in total prize earnings between the 6 of those players. That is amazing.
It's a huge collection of names from Japan, and of course, they may have met their match here with Genesis. Been a lot of smack talk. I have to say, if you've been following the way things have been going on Twitter,
was it mostly Brad?
It was. I mean, a lot of it was coming from Brad, but I mean, these guys were up and about like a pair of pro wrestlers, really. You know, getting up in each other's grills and having a chat about things. And I mean, they've got to walk the walk now.
Well, I mean, Team Genesis also just a collection of very, very great players. You have one of the best standard players in the world in Brad Nelson, former world champion Seth Manfield, and you have a Pro Tour champion in Lukas Blohon. So no slouches there either.
Yeah, Martin Dang as well, rounding out the roster as another Pro Tour champion, and of course Martin Muller and Thomas Hendricks, some of the rising stars of the European scene.
Oh, does Seth Manfield have a runner ground here? This would be absolutely brutal.
So we've sort of, this player's kind of taken a back seat as things have been going, but this is a huge swing here for Manfield because that's going to completely change the dynamic of this combat step.
That allows Seth to eat a free creature, put Teruya down to 10. Teruya does have access to an Ixalan's Binding, but there are 3 creatures on the battlefield. He has a lot to overcome here to stabilize.
And a draw step that he knows exactly what's on the top of his library, of course, here. It's just been popped there by the run aground.
Yeah, there's a Thrash of Raptors on top of his library.
We have stamp cards. Are there stamps on theirs?
So they're figuring out exactly what's going on because one of the cards in Kakumae's deck is missing the stamp that indicates that it was part of the sealed pull. It may have been replaced by another one. Well, we've of course got access to the deck lists, and obviously there is an Emissary of Sunrise in his list, but players just across all that sort of stuff. And I tell you what, it goes to show they don't miss a trick.
Yeah, well, you have many more eyes on all of these cards.
Kakumae now facing down 3 pretty hefty attackers here. Manfield certainly on the front foot, you would have to say.
Yeah, there's a Thrash of... Let's take a look at Teruya's hand, actually. There's a Thrash of Raptors, which currently on the board, not really all that impressive, as Seth Manfield has a Grazing Whiptail, a little bit outclassed there. So his best bet might be to just play an Ixalan's Binding on one of the creatures, or he can maybe try to play Thrasher Raptors, hope to draw land, then play Shining Aerosaur, which would then make the Thrasher Raptors into a 5/3, which would allow him to trade with the Grazing Whiptail.
Not great options here for Kakumae, and a lot of that is just because he's a little constrained on mana. He's got these high-impact, expensive cards, Shining Aerosaur, Unfriendly Fire. This is where you want to be in the format, but only if you've got the mana to cast them, and Kakumae's got his back against the wall here. You can see he's considering what he wants to play. That's it, man. That's all you got. Bishop Soldier's not going to get it done, my friend.
The thing is that unblockable River Sneak is getting in for a lot of damage. I mean, it's got that +1/+1 counter, and presumably Seth Manfield, blue-green, he's got to have a ton of Merfolk in the deck, so he's going to need to use one of his removal spells eventually on the River Sneak, because I don't think he's going to be able to outrace it.
So Manfield with the cards very close to the chest here. He's playing a Shaper Apprentice and a follow-up play as well. Wow, okay, this is going to mean a huge
and a Water Trap Weaver
damage once again.
10 damage. Teruya down to 2.
So Team Genesis doing very well in the opening stages of the Team Series final here. Of course, it's not all over with this one because we've got another round of Team Series final. The other half of both teams will be playing in the feature match area before too much longer. But right now, Kakumae, I don't see a way out of him for this.
No. I think Seth Manfield just has this game. He just guns blazing, just right out the gates.
Yeah.
1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop, bounce spell into double Merfolk.
That's enough. That's all you need. So that is it, with Seth Manfield handily tidying up here against his opponent Kakumae there. And we are going to head over to another table to keep the action coming between Team Genesis and Team Musashi here. The Pro Tour Team Series final coming at you hot and fresh out the kitchen from the World Championships here in Boston. We've had 2 days of action coming your way with the World Championship, but now we're going to settle the score here with the Team Series final.
I'm really excited to be able to actually see Shota now play with his 4-color control deck.
Yeah.
I think you were telling me briefly about this. He's playing a Grixis pirate control deck, splashing white for Call to the Feast.
A really interesting splash, not the one that would sort of be on the top of people's radars here, but this is what's very interesting now, because as we round out these 3 decks, Lukas Blohon is on blue-black and a slower controlling deck as well, and Shota Yasooka also playing a base blue-black. Oh, it's just straight up Grixis essentially with the splash for Call to the Feast.
Yeah, and you might be questioning the mana base, but the pirate decks do have lots of ways to make treasure, which effectively allow you to play many more colors because the treasures do fix your mana.
So, Yasooka out the gates like a greyhound here with these wanted scoundrels getting in.
Lukas Blohon drew a really nice card that I have yet to see be cast at the World Championships. He just drew overflowing
insight.
Overflowing intellect.
Overflowing insight here. Wow, that's going to be huge. 7-card sorcery. I mean, I did see Owen Turtmold discard it to a raid trigger earlier in the rounds.
I saw
the weekend.
Reed Duke had one in his hand, but he was stuck on 2 islands.
Ah. Okay, yeah. So tragedy all around with this card, but we'll see if Blohon is going to be able to...
And look at this. He's on 2 treasures with 4 cards. Of course, he's not going to cast it until he casts all the other spells in his hand.
Theoretically, he can cast it next turn.
Yeah, but presumably, I mean, this is kind of a slower matchup, right? We're seeing a blue-black kind of controlling pirate deck against a Grixis controlling pirate deck. Shota with a reasonably aggressive start here, but yeah, Shota wants to finish the game here as quickly as possible.
Wanting to get on the front foot here as we see the wanted scoundrels get in once again. They've done a bunch of work here for Yasooka. Got in for 8 and vanquished the weak, taking out the Pirate of Means there. Sailor of Means, I should say.
Seth Manfield is a busy man in that middle seat.
Yeah, that's it.
Winning his game, helping teammates out.
All right.
And look at this.
Wow, buffing up that treasure stockpile even further now. Of course, Blohon had to burn one of the treasures for the white removal spell that he's splashing there.
Yeah, anything is fair game when you're playing against a deck with a ton of treasures. Do not be surprised. I've seen players double splash Regisaur Alpha in their blue-black decks. You know, you have enough Prosperous Pirates and Contract Killings, you can get it done.
Now, this was brought in, of course. The Legion's Judgment was brought in from the board. Lukas Blohon straight black-blue when it comes to the main deck. But obviously, he thought that the Legion's Judgment was a good call against Yasooka.
Yeah,
certainly not a bad call.
That's the thing. When you're building these decks, you have to split up all the cards, and all the players do have to individually register their cards. If some players were not interested in certain sideboard-type cards, then you can just give them to Lukas, and he can use the treasures to actually cast a lot of these cards.
So it looks like we're seeing a Deathless Ancient come down here for Blohon, looking to stabilize the board a little bit, but Yasooka with a hugely powerful look at this. No worries at all. Vance's blasting cannons into Call to the Feast. I mean, that's...
Wow, what is happening?
That's exactly how you win games of Magic. I mean, come on, we can all learn a lesson here.
Vance's blasting cannons, a nice way to gain card advantage. It is pretty difficult to actually flip, as you need to play 3 spells in a turn to do so. But if it does, it becomes incredibly powerful. Vance's blasting cannons does flip and turns into a land where if you pay 2 in a red and tap it, you can deal 3 damage to any target. And
so a bit of exploration going on for Lukas Blohon as a 3/3 lifelinker joins the party.
Yeah, there's a Queen's Agent on the battlefield from Lukas Blohon. And yeah, there's a Deathless Agent in Lukas Blohon. Typically a card that you see played in a Vampire deck, but there's nobody on Team Genesis on Black-White Vampire, so Lukas just using that as a finisher, he presumably has lots of ways to interact and has a lot of removal spells in his deck.
Captivating Crew also played here by Yasooka, and I tell you what, he's certainly putting some pressure on Blohon here with some pretty high-impact cards here, Paul.
Yeah, Captivating Crew is just completely bonkers. You know, when I first saw the card, I was just thinking to myself, well, it's a little bit clunky, right? It's kind of expensive, you know? And then I got to untap with it, and I was just like, no, this card's messed up.
This card is just bonkerinos, absolutely. Right. I mean, this guy does so much work, makes combat an absolute nightmare, makes blocking very difficult. It can really put pressure on. I mean, it slices and dices, it does it all.
Yeah. And Shota is sitting on 7 mana. If he just finds 1 more red source, he can actually activate it twice. And that is just so hard to come back from. Lukas is already down to 12 life because of the turn 2 Wanted Scoundrels.
I mean, Threat is one of the best cards in Magic. When you got it on a stick, oh buddy. So Blohon, you can see a cool look of concentration across his face here, and looking down at his hand. He's got plenty of cards to work with.
Yeah, but
one of them is Overflowing Insight.
Well, he does need to find a removal effect for that captivating crew, or it will take over the game. That is how I believe Shota won the first game. So Lukas Blohon, he already used a Legion's Judgment. He does have access to 2 in his pool. I don't know if he brought both copies in.
The thing is, I want to point out something here about Yasooka's pool. We've seen he's doing some pretty crazy stuff. He's gone pretty buck wild here, but the pure card quality in his deck, I want to point out his removal. Can I walk you through it here?
Sure.
Walk the plank.
Okay.
Vraska's Contempt. Right?
Nice.
There's a contract killing as well. This guy, and a Skullduggery to get nice and tricksy. 2 copies of Vanquish the Weak. This guy is going to be able to clear the board in any weather.
Yeah, it's almost like they opened the sealed pool, and Shota was just like, all those removal spells,
that's
yeah,
for me.
That's mine.
Ship it.
That's
yeah,
mine.
That's right.
You guys can worry about it. You guys do whatever you want with the rest of the deck.
Yeah.
I just want all this black removal.
Yeah, and you guys can fight
and
fight over
also
the scraps.
the best card in the pool, the Captivating Crew, I also want this card.
Yeah, give me that. And the Vance's Blasting Cannons. Oh, and you've got Call to the Feast? Give me that.
Yeah.
So Yasooka, he's put together, the 4-color special, and of course we would expect it of him here.
It is actually interesting that the Captivating Crew made it to Shota Yasooka's list instead of Kakumae's, given that Kakumae is kind of the hyper-aggressive red-white deck, and that is like an excellent finisher for that deck. So Shota's, maybe they identified that Shota really does need a way to finish the game and gave him kind of the very powerful rare.
So Quartermaster's going to search out the Cobbled Wings here for Blohon.
And if you noticed, Shota Yasooka exiled the land there. Vance's Plastic Cannons does not allow you to actually play lands.
Yeah, it's not a straight-up outpost siege. It does a really good impression
Very
of it.
close.
Yeah, but doesn't let you get the value off those lands.
It's more similar to, of course, Chandra Torch of Defiance.
Yeah, a great point. Interesting spin that Red now gets on card. Draw the sort of use it or lose it type mechanic.
Right.
So, things this Chandra type of it doesn't have a name. We need a name for it.
I'm sure there is one in R&D, but I'm still relatively new. So
yeah, they haven't given you all. They haven't given you the
I need to
deep
get that
tech.
lingo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sure. Still got to prove yourself with that sort of access to that sort of technology. I imagine Paul Chan won't be long. Won't be long.
And Shota here. Did he steal a creature? What did he use for the 4 mana?
Looks like the Queen's Agent has switched sides.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, they are kind of in a racing situation here.
And it's going to be a nice one for Yasooka to leverage because the Captivating Crew has woven his magic. Come join us, he says. Yeah,
he took the creature with the largest power, but the Captivating Crew still doesn't really want to attack here because Lukas can opt to double block with the Deadeye Quartermaster and the Sailor of Means. But if he does go with the double block, that does mean Shota Yasooka gets to get in for 8 points of damage, putting Lukas down to 4. But then Lukas will get that Queen's Agent back and get to gain life on the following turn. But it looks like Shota opting to be aggressive. I feel like this attack tells me that he has some kind of a combat trick. I mean, what is he working with in hand? Oh,
you got it.
Well, that makes a lot more sense, this attack. This attack
Skullduggery
is amazing now that we know he's got a Skullduggery.
It's got absolutely buck wild because, of course, all these lifelink creatures, in addition to picking off some of Blohon's blockers, is just going to be huge. And Yasooka firmly in the driver's seat with this all-out attack here.
Yeah, and the thing is, Lukas Blohon is in a situation here where he doesn't have a removal effect for the Captivating Crew, so he has to play like Shota has nothing and just make the optimal blocks here, because if Shota has anything, you're just going to lose.
Yeah, you can't beat. Sometimes you have to give yourself the best percentage to win against X, Y, and Z cards, knowing that you can never win against a certain percentage.
It's just
of
like
others.
you're so far behind. Please don't have anything. I'm just going to make the kind of the most obvious blocks because I do need to try to get this Captivating Crew off the board.
They always have it though. They always have it, Paul.
So this is a more interesting block because assuming Shota Yasooka has nothing, Lukas loses a bit more here as he loses both of these creatures. But this is a little bit better against specifically Skullduggery in the sense that if Shota fires it off, Lukas' Sailor Means will survive.
So Blohon, he may have the soul read on Yasooka here. But any way you slice it, Yasooka certainly in a commanding position, looking to hang Blohon from the yardarm, just like our unfortunate vampire friend there. And he's dropped his sword as well. Look at that. I think he's going to slice his head off.
I think he's just thinking, you know what? This attack doesn't make any sense. Shota has to have a combat trick here. Why is he attacking me with that Captivating Crew?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, otherwise you just wouldn't expose it to danger, right?
Right, yeah. You would just steal and maybe just attack with all the other creatures. This is a pretty aggressive attack. I would put Shota on some kind of a trick here. But at the same time, maybe you just can't play around it. It's just, you just hope maybe Shota's tired after playing 14 rounds of Magic over
That's
the
your
last
out,
2 days.
isn't it? That's your out against
maybe.
Shota Yasooka.
I mean, you gotta just cross your fingers here.
Yeah, got to take it where you can get it.
Oh,
But look at this,
oh,
a single black
no,
mana. That
there it is.
spell's ruined
Yep.
for Lukas Blohon.
It's just like, I'm going to cast this spell.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's opting to pump the Captivating Crew and shrink the Siren Lookout. After damage resolves, Shota loses nothing, and Lukas will lose the Quartermaster and the Siren Lookout, and he will take a ton of damage as well.
Yeah, welcome to 2-for-1 City. Here is your mayor, the Lord Mayor, Right Honourable Shota Yasooka. He's just done a number on Lukas Blohon, who is going to have to dig deep here because that Captivating Crew is still around a party. He'll be dancing all night. Yeah,
and Lukas Blohon, he can cast an Overflowing Insight, but then he's not going to have access to a lot of mana here. No. So if he plays it, he does have that 1 treasure. He'll have access to 2 mana. There's not a lot of 2 mana removal effects to deal with that Captivating Crew.
No, I mean, this is the power of the Draw 7 is being able to use the cards that you draw almost immediately. If Overflowing Insight were an instant,
oh yeah,
it'd be bonkers.
That'd be much different.
But because you could then play it in step, untap, and use all the cards you've drawn. But I think most commonly the thing that you're going to do after casting an Overflowing Insight is move to discard.
Discard some cards.
Exactly.
You're going to be probably pitching a few lands, but I still just want to do it at least once in my life.
I mean, come on, I want to see it happen in this tournament. So even if Lukas Blohon, even if this is the way you hit the concede button, my friend.
Well, none of his hand does anything else.
No.
Well, actually, he does have the March of the Drown. He's probably going to get back some creatures.
Okay, all right. Well, we're going to see.
Yeah, that's the smart conservative
instead.
play, Lukas. I get it.
All right.
You're a Pro Tour champ, but I want to see some cards being drawn.
March of the Drown, a great value play here for Blohon. 2 mana to regrow 1 mana to regrow 2 cards from his graveyard, and there they are, marching out of the surf there, dripping wet, heading for the back for the battlefield, I would imagine here.
I wonder if Lukas has any other equipment to search out for the Deadeye Quartermaster. He's already fetched up the Cobbled Wings, and if that was the first thing that he went after, I mean, he might have a Pirate's Cutlass, actually. Oh, yeah, he does. He has a Pirate's Cutlass and a Cobbled Wings in his deck.
So follow-up play now, the Siren Lookout. So Lukas Blohon redeploys.
Oh, that was a Prosperous Pirates.
The Lookout exploring here. We're going to see a contract killing left on top.
Oh,
so that's
okay,
a nice one. That's a stone cold answer to the Captivating Crew here.
So yeah, that is the answer.
Tell you what, Blohon, he's digging his fingers into the cliff face here.
Wow, and if you noticed, does Shota have access to an 8th mana source? I don't think he does.
So Call to the Feast has come off the top of the blasting cannons here.
Right, and that's not exactly what he wanted. I believe if Shota drew just a land, he would have been very, very close to victory.
Because he can play the Feast and then Captivate, or just Captivate?
No, just Captivate.
Just double
twice.
Captivate.
But it looks like actually he only has access to the 1 red source, so maybe not.
I see. Yeah.
But yeah, Lukas might actually be able to come back from this. So Shota, if he's opting to steal something, likely going to go after the Deathless Ancient here. And then if he attacks with everything, actually he doesn't really have a great board here. All he has left is that Captivating Crew. Some 1/1 lifelink tokens, but Lukas is sitting comfortable at 8 life as he did get in an attack with that Queen's Agent.
The texture of this game just so interesting to continue to explore here.
That is the other half of Team Musashi waiting, cheering on their teammates.
Yep, one of them just sort of checking his social media, I would imagine. Keeping on top of the latest and greatest.
Wow. I just saw something.
What did you see?
If Lukas survives, he gets to play Contract Killing, get 2 treasures.
Hello.
He can draw 7 cards.
He can draw 7 cards. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen around the world, join us in crossing your fingers, hoping this happens.
We get to see some cards being drawn.
That would be the sweetest thing. All right. Blohon here, firmly on the defensive. He's going to have to stitch something very special together. But I tell you what, he's the man for the job, the Czech player, an absolute superstar, a Pro Tour champion in his own right. And the raw power of Overflowing Insight could pull him across the line here. But up against one of the greatest magicians to emerge from the Asia-Pacific region, Shota Yasooka. What's been very perplexing for me here, Paul, is Yasooka known for his alacrity, his incredible pace of play. Haven't seen that today.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's playing a really complex deck. It's a 4-color deck, and Captivating Crew is not really the type of card that you play with very often. So it just, it's a very unique card, and this is a really, really close tough situation to kind of navigate around. And Shota just attacking with everything and also not stealing the Deathless Ancient. Actually opting to steal the Prosperous Pirates instead. Interesting.
Yeah, very curious play here for Yasooka, but you can see that when he makes a decision, snaps into action like that. Back to robot mode, beep boop, he knows exactly what he wants to do here. Blohon's going to line up some blocks, 2 cards in hand for Yasooka. I think 2 cards also in the hand of Lukas Blohon. Some advice coming in from the other side.
1-4 blocks, 3-4. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Seems decent.
Interesting.
And this puts the captivating crew at risk here.
Yeah, and this is going to just put Lukas down to 4 life here.
Because Yasooka, look what he's holding.
Yeah,
Just a couple of 5-drops.
Nothing.
He can't play anything else the rest of the turn.
Right. He's kind of hoping that the Dire Fleet Porter dies, but I don't think Lukas is going to give him that treasure.
It's going to take a lot for anyone in the room to accuse Yasooka of making anything other than the optimal play here.
Right.
But there are a lot of indications here that this turn is confusing.
Right. I'm still trying to figure out why he would do it. Maybe he wanted to actually get the Deathless Ancient off the board and force force the trade there, but now Lukas Blohon might be able to turn it around here. I mean, Shota does have Advanced Blasting Cannon that allow him to kind of draw an additional card every turn. Yeah, but
Lukas Blohon's going to draw 7 cards.
Yeah, he's going to go up to 7 here with the attack from the Queen's Agent.
Bam!
Oh,
we got it. We did it. Pull Cheon.
Wait. He's drawing 7, but okay, right. This makes a lot of sense. He's drawing 7 cards.
He's drawing 7
because of Captivating Crew's off the board. Of course.
He doesn't need to cast the Contract Killing anymore. Ladies and gentlemen, you saw it here first. Overflowing Insight, draws 7. And we're going to see continued play here from Blohon. Is he not going to have to discard as well?
Wow, the dream.
That is insane. And Lukas Blohon continues to turn this game around further and further in his favor. He's got a full grip. Yasooka.
By the way, when you survive and you draw 7 cards, the advantage bar kind of just makes a little shifty shift.
Automatically. I mean, that's just sort of, that's exactly, it goes without saying. Yasooka now committing further to the board here, but it's back to Blohon. And I'll tell you what, he's poised now to make a really huge impact on this game. He's got a nice full grip of cards here.
Yeah, I mean, he's got so many options. We already know that he's got that Contract Killing.
Yeah,
he might want to use that on the Windstrider.
Just get it out of here. That's what he says.
Yeah.
Denied.
And now he could also put Cobbled Wings on the Lifelinker here.
Just to get in the damage.
Right, just an evasive lifelink creature. He can put that on the board.
It's incredible here. Yasooka has really been painted into a corner as Lukas Blohon continues to stamp his authority on this game. And we're going to see an attack here from Blohon.
You can make a fairly aggressive attack, though, but it looks like he's just being slightly more conservative, just attacking with the flyers on the board. And wow.
Overflowing Insight has just... it's
more
overflow
cards.
Full of value here for him. And yeah. He's got interaction. He's got further threats to back it up. And all of a sudden...
he's turned it around.
It's been a complete and utter reversal here. Yasooka exposing his best card to danger here, trading it off for a Deathless Ancient.
Yeah, and I think, he was kind of thinking to himself, well, he didn't know about the draw 7, of course. He just knew that there was a Contract Killing on top of Lucas's deck, so might as well get the attack in, try to get in for as much damage as possible.
That does make a lot of sense. I mean, we're looking at with a much more complete picture of information here. Yasooka was maybe considering, hey, I can grind. I've got the Advanced Blasting Cannons. I've got the Inevitability. I'm going to be able to, continue to turn the screws, even if I take a little bit of a loss now. But Blohon has punished him. He's got the cane out of the cupboard and given him an absolutely sound thrashing here.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Imagine you're in Shota's position. You're like, well, I'm drawing 2 cards a turn. Ultimately, I'm gonna be up so many cards on Lukas, right? Like, he's not gonna be able to come back from this. Oh, you drew 7 cards.
Yeah, you drew 7 cards. That's just about the worst thing that could have happened here. And I think, were there any other mythic that Lukas Blohon could have used to punish Yasooka here, it's hard-pressed to think of one.
Multiple Contract Killings in his deck.
Yep, easy game. Easy game, easy life for Lukas Blohon as he continues to push himself further and further ahead here against Yasooka, and I tell you what, he's going to be very pleased with his result. I mean, we are talking about it like it's a foregone conclusion. Perhaps we shouldn't be doing that because a couple of minutes ago...
Shota is playing 4 colors. Let's say he also somehow had a reverse rebuke, but yeah, I was going to mention this earlier. Lukas equipping the Cobbled Wings onto the Prosperous Pirates, putting Shota on a 2-turn clock because he's now currently sitting on 5 life. So he's going to play a Menace creature, but on top of that, he also has a Skymarch Bloodletter, which you could play, which would be 3 evasive creatures, and that would put Shota down to 4 life, meaning Shota would need a way to deal with 2 flyers that are on the board.
The loss of that Queen's agent meaning that Blohon isn't going to be able to buffer his life total too much further, although as you mentioned, there is the sort of little 1-point drain ski coming off of our souped up Windrake here.
Yeah, and I think if I'm in Lucas's position here, now we start thinking about ways we can lose the game.
Yeah,
Because of, it seems like it would be simple enough to just kind of play out your bigger threats every turn, but right now he's thinking, okay, how can I lose? Maybe there's a card in Shota's hand that could turn this around. So you know what? I'm going to draw cards. I know there's a Kite Sail freebooter on top of my library, and I'm going to cast that card instead of the Skymarch Bloodletter.
The classic play here, taking the removal spell with the Brain Maggot type effect, with the Mesmeric Fiend type effect here.
Because he's thinking, look, what do I lose to? Maybe they have another River's Rebuke, and they split it up. Cards like that could be sitting in Shota Yasooka's hand.
So he wants to have a look there, and he sees, of course, the not only that removal spell, but also a Direfleet Hoarder. And, oh, sorry, no, he would have just seen the Anointed Deacon, that Direfleet Hoarder freshly drawn here. But, Paul, I mean, let's come back to the fact that only a few minutes ago, Yasooka was resolving a Skullduggery against a very advantageous board for him, and we were talking about how Blohon could possibly win. Now we're talking about how he can possibly lose.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. He really needed to find a removal spell, and he did. He did find that Contract Killing on top of the deck, which kind of forced Shota's hand. He had to play more aggressively because he knew that he was going to lose the Captivating Crew.
An attack here for Yasooka. He's looking to put some pressure on his opponent, but Blohon is going to be able to line up some blocks here. And we know that Yasooka is sitting on just some creatures in hand. And I think there's a lesson to take away from this match, especially for players who aren't intimately familiar with cards like Overflowing Insight, because at first you look at that, draw 7 or whatever. I mean, you'd rather just a Great Stonking Dragon, right? A 5/5 for 5 or something like that. But this is the power of just raw, pure, unadulterated card advantage, because it means that you can go later, you can go longer. And I think you hear stories about kids back in Alpha trading away their Ancestral Recalls for a Shivan Dragon.
Right.
And we look at that and go, well, what's going on there? But
that just makes sense. Do you know how big Shivan Dragon is?
It's very big.
It is huge.
It's a big boy.
Yeah. And Lucas Blohon also just got the best possible matchup for Overflowing Insight, right? If he played it against an aggressive blue-green Merfolk deck
basically
or a red-white dinosaur deck, you just don't want to have that card in your deck.
No, you'd
but
rather
in
have
this specific matchup, it is the best card.
That's it. You'd rather have a birthday card.
Right.
Than an Overflowing Insight when you're getting beaten down by red-white dinosaurs. But no, Blohon has really lucked out here. He's picked well, I mean, it's been randomly assigned, of course, but he's got the opponent that he needs to go up against with his deck that he's built. And I mean, this Grindfest, you'd think Yasooka's in a good position. Vance's blasting cannons, what have you. And a little smile on the face of Thomas Hendricks here. Feeling very confident, obviously. Yasooka's board isn't great. We are going to see something walk the plank here.
Life total check.
You 8?
Checking the life totals here.
Me done.
Yeah, so
8 to 10.
Shota did gain some life here as he did play an Anointed Deacon, pumping up his lifelink Vampire token, and is now using a Walk the Plank.
These Prosperous Pirates forced to walk the plank. Even with the Cobbled Wings.
Okay,
Oh, hello.
Flipped. Okay, so Lucas does need to end the game.
Yep, because this Lightning Bolt on a stick in the form of Spitfire Bastion is going to cause some headaches, of course, for Blohon. Having said that, it's only once a turn, and Blohon does have the resources you would think to seal the deal before then, although his opponent on 8 life. Paul Cheon, this is an interesting texture to the game now.
Yeah, I mean, now Lucas definitely is on a clock here. We have a card that allows you to do 3 damage every single turn. You can just get all the creatures off the board, then finish off your opponent. Lucas does have a Contra Killer. Let's actually take a look at his hand.
He's got a nice full grip all the same, and Yasooka's got a lot of work to do to get through all of these cards. Skymarch Bloodletter is going to apply some pressure, and Judgment and Killing are also going to make sure that the board stays nice and clear for Yasooka. Having said that, Lightning Bolt every turn at the cost of 0 cards.
Right. This is late enough in the game where it's more or less free. So he does have to use his removal spell, and at this point you need to just attack with everything.
Yeah, get in there.
Be very, very aggressive.
Absolutely, and we're going to see exactly this take place. A big attack here for Lucas Blohon. He's looking to get on the front foot, crack some skulls. Everything's coming in. Right click, attack with all creatures, get it done.
And Shota doesn't really have great blocks here. All he has is a 2/1 and a 1/1 lifelinker on the battlefield. And Lucas is attacking with 3 evasive creatures and a couple of 1/4. So Shota can't even make a trade where he gets even one of Lucas's creatures off the board. And this is representing 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 damage. So Shota does need to block He actually needs to block both Sailor of Means if he actually wants to live, because Lukas is holding a Skymarch Bloodletter in hand.
Yeah, so
But
Yasooka
oh no, but he's got a
effective
life
7.
linker. He's got a life linker.
So
Okay,
still
okay.
on the... Okay, so he's going to buffer his life total up to 9, take a bunch, goes down to 2. Now, of course, were it not for the lifelink on that Vampire token, we'd be looking at a game 3 here, but Blohon is going to be in a position to drain Yasooka down to 1. A tall order for the Japanese player here.
Yeah.
He's got to...
He needs something big here.
He needs Hirugetsu's second right here.
He needs some way to, like, Dark Nourishment maybe? Some way to, like a removal spell that would gain him some life.
He's going to have to pack it
not
up,
quite
however.
enough.
Lukas
Wow.
Blohon, wow, the way that he got himself back into that game. Incredible stuff from the Czech player there. He's going to have to be very, very happy with his performance. Jeez, he absolutely crushed it, Paul.
Yeah. We got to see every dream.
Yeah.
We got to see Overflowing Insight being cast. We got to see Advance's blasting cannons get flipped.
Yeah.
That just almost never happens.
It all happened, man. We got all the hits down in the feature match area. It's time to head back to Yuya Watanabe and Thomas Hendricks. These guys were where we started round number 1 here of the Team Series final, and we're going to head straight back there and check back in with those guys. Thanks for sticking with us. It's been an exhilarating performance so far, and of course the hits don't stop, the party don't stop all night long. Between these two players, we're going to get underway now with our next game. Thanks for choosing to join us here at the Magic the Gathering World Championships live out of Boston, Massachusetts. Riley Knight and Paul Cheon in the booth with you. It's our great pleasure to bring you this content for your enjoyment, my friends. We're back to Yuya Watanabe on blue-green Merfolk, Thomas Hendricks on white-red Dinosaurs. And Paul, as we discuss both of these decks, chock full of synergy. But right now, it's time to check in with Tim Willoughby down on the floor.
Well, we have our first match win, that going to Team Genesis. Seth Manfield, he was on the blue-green Merfolk up against Teruya Kakumae's red-white, and both players stuck on 3 lands. The big difference on Seth Manfield's side of things, 2 copies of River Sneak, followed up by a Vine Shaper Mystic. Those River Sneaks, both becoming 2/2s, did not take too much extra help from the Merfolk in order to be able to crash through unblockably for the first match win.
Thanks, Tim, and that does mean, of course, that Thomas Hendricks is in a great position now to seal the deal here.
I think this is pretty close to game over. Yuya Watanabe kept the hand with Opt, needed green mana, and that's it.
And a ferocious
Wow,
curve out from
just
Thomas
turn 4
Hendricks
win.
means that that's all she wrote today, sports fans, for our first final of the Pro Tour Team Series. And
Lukas is like, still going deep.
Thomas Hendricks coming over to let his teammates know exactly what's up, which means that Blohon doesn't need to play out that final game. That is that for our first Team Series final. Welcome back to the booth. Riley Knight, Paul Cheon, wrapping things up here, but stick around because on the other side of this, of course, we have our second final with the other halves of the team. You're not going to want to miss it. We'll see you back here in Boston in just a few moments.